It happened on a Tuesday. I remember the day because of how mundane it seemed at first. Just another regular day, like all the others that had preceded it. But, looking back, I should have known. Something about the weather was different. The air felt heavier, as if it was holding its breath. That was the moment I first realized that my life, as I knew it, was about to unravel. I was sitting on the couch, half-heartedly flipping through the channels, when the knock came. 3 short, firm knocks. I didn't recognize the sound at first. I hadn't had a visitor in weeks, and I didn't expect any. But I got up, curious. When I opened the door, there she was. I wish I could say that I was prepared for what came next. I wasn't. There she was, standing in front of me, almost like she had stepped out of my memory, but with a different energy about her. She looked older somehow, wiser perhaps, the kind of look that someone gets after they've been through something painful, something life-changing. I didn't know what to feel when I saw her. Surprise? Anger? Relief? Maybe a combination of all three. But the moment she spoke, all the doubts, all the questions I had buried deep down for months, rushed back. "I need to talk," she said, her voice trembling, her eyes not quite meeting mine. And for the first time, I felt a chill run through me. I hadn't seen her in over a year, and in all that time, I'd convinced myself I was better off without her, that she had moved on, that the chapters of our story were closed. But there she was, standing in front of me, looking as if no time had passed at all. I should have slammed the door shut. I should have told her to leave. But for some reason, I didn't. Maybe it was curiosity. Or maybe it was because, despite everything, there was still a part of me that needed to know why she had left, why she had vanished without a word, without a trace. I didn't invite her in. I didn't have to. She walked right past me, stepping into the small entryway of my apartment like she belonged there. "Can we sit down?" she asked, almost as if she had planned this moment for years. I didn't answer. I just moved aside and let her, unsure of what to say or do. We sat across from each other, the silence hanging between us like a thick fog. She was the one to break it first. "I'm sorry," she said, her voice barely a whisper. "I should have never left the way I did." And that was the moment I realized this wasn't going to be a simple conversation. Whatever had happened, whatever had caused her to walk out of my life without explanation, was far from over. Something inside me braced for the truth, a truth that I had been avoiding, a truth that had been hiding just beneath the surface. I waited, my heart pounding in my chest, as she took a deep breath, like she was preparing to confess something I wasn't ready to hear. The words she spoke next would change everything. "I didn't want to leave you," she said, her voice breaking. "But I thought I had no other choice." I wasn't sure where this was going, but I could feel it in my bones. This wasn't just an apology. This wasn't just a woman trying to mend old wounds. This was something far deeper, something far more complicated than I could have ever imagined. She looked at me, her eyes filled with something I couldn't place. Regret, fear, maybe even guilt. But there was something else there too, something deeper, something hidden. I had to fight the urge to ask her what the hell she was doing here after all this time. "Why now? After everything?" "I know this is going to sound insane," she said, almost as if she were preparing me for the worst. "But I need you to listen. I need you to understand." Her voice cracked. I wasn't prepared for that. Not from her. Elara had always been strong, in control. But now, she seemed like a woman unraveling, unsure of what to do next. I wasn't sure I wanted to hear it, but I couldn't make myself stop listening either. Something about her presence, this moment, felt so important. Like whatever was about to happen was going to change everything. The air around us was thick with tension. "I was seeing someone else," she confessed, her words hanging in the air between us, sharp and jagged. "But it's not what you think. I didn't just leave you for him. There's so much more to it." I froze. I couldn't breathe. All those nights when I'd wondered if I was just being paranoid, if maybe I was imagining things, those thoughts now felt like a cruel joke. She had been seeing someone else. I had always known it deep down, but hearing it from her, hearing her admit it, hit me like a ton of bricks. "I didn't mean for it to happen," she continued, her voice shaking now. "I didn't want to fall for him. But I did. And when I did, everything in my life fell apart." My mind was racing. I had so many questions, but they all seemed to get tangled up in each other. Who was he? How long had this been going on? And most importantly, why was she here now? What did she want from me? "I need to explain," she said, almost pleading. "But it's complicated. There's something you don't know. Something that I never told you. And I don't know how to tell you. Her words were so cryptic, so laced with mystery, that it made everything feel more like a puzzle, one I wasn't sure I wanted to solve. But I had to know. What do you mean? I asked, my voice strained. What don't I know, Elara? She took a deep breath, her eyes darting around the room, like she was searching for the right words. It wasn't just about him. There was someone else, before him. She paused, letting the weight of her words sink in. There's more to this than you can even imagine, and it's going to change everything for both of us. I was stunned. It was like I was living in some twisted version of my life where nothing made sense anymore. Someone else before him. My mind couldn't catch up to what she was saying. The pieces were there, but they didn't fit together. Please, she whispered. I need you to understand. I didn't leave because I stopped loving you. I left because of something much bigger than both of us. I stared at her, my heart pounding. My mind raced through every possible scenario, trying to make sense of what she was saying. Was there more to this? Had I been blind all this time? Or was this just another lie? I don't know if I can believe you, I said, my voice barely audible. It felt like I was drowning in the weight of her confession. How can I? After everything you've done, how do I know this isn't just another excuse? Elara's face twisted in pain, but there was something in her eyes that stopped me from shutting her out completely. Maybe it was the truth, or maybe it was something else. But for some reason, I couldn't just walk away, not yet. I don't expect you to forgive me, she said, her voice breaking. But I need to tell you everything. I owe you that much. I didn't know what to say. Part of me wanted to scream at her, to demand answers. But another part of me, the part that still cared, that still remembered what we had, just sat there, numb. I could feel myself slipping back into that place of uncertainty, that place where everything felt wrong, but I couldn't quite let go. I nodded, reluctantly. Tell me everything. And just like that, she began. The words that came out of her mouth changed everything. Nothing would ever be the same again. Her hands trembled as she spoke, her voice cracking with every word. It wasn't just about him, or even about us, Elara began, her gaze shifting uneasily as though she was afraid of what she was about to reveal. There's something I never told you. Something I should have told you a long time ago. I didn't know what to expect. The weight of her words hung in the air between us, thick and suffocating. I could feel my pulse quicken as I leaned forward, barely able to breathe. What do you mean? I asked, the words slipping out before I could stop them. She swallowed hard, like the words themselves were too heavy to carry. When I left, it wasn't because of him. I left because I found something out about you. About us. Her eyes met mine, and for the first time in what felt like forever, I saw something resembling fear in them. Something I couldn't ignore. I was stunned. My mind was already trying to piece things together, but nothing made sense. What could you have possibly found out about me that made you leave? I demanded, my voice trembling with the tension that had been building since she knocked on my door. Elara took a deep breath and continued, her voice barely a whisper. I found out that everything we thought we knew about our lives together was a lie. Her words were like ice water in my veins. What do you mean a lie? My voice was barely audible as the confusion swirled around me. She hesitated, taking another deep breath. Before I met you, I was involved in something. Something dangerous. Something that I should have left behind, but I couldn't. She paused, her lips pressed together as if weighing whether to say more. And when I met you, I thought that I could escape it, but I couldn't. It followed me, and it followed us. I sat there, paralyzed, trying to process what she was saying. What could possibly be so dangerous? My mind raced as I looked at her, wondering if she was telling the truth, if she was making all of this up just to get a reaction out of me. Elara, stop, I said, my hands shaking. What are you talking about? What do you mean dangerous? She looked at me with a haunted expression. There's a group, a network. I thought I could leave it behind when I started a life with you, but it doesn't work like that. They found me. They found us. And when they did, things changed. My stomach churned. What kind of group? I asked, the words feeling foreign on my tongue. My mind was spinning, and I had no idea where this was headed. The kind of people you don't want to know. The kind that won't let you walk away. And they knew about you. They knew about us. I could feel the blood drain from my face as the reality of her words began to sink in. What had I gotten myself into? Had I been blind to the warning signs all this time? The life we built, the life I thought was real, was it all a lie? I didn't want to bring you into this, she said, her eyes full of regret. But I was already too deep. And when they found out about you, I knew I couldn't protect you anymore. That's when I left. My heart was pounding in my chest, and I could barely comprehend what she was saying. So you left because of some group? A dangerous group that knew about us. I repeated, trying to make sense of the words. Yes, she whispered. I thought I could save you from them. But I couldn't. I had to keep you safe, even if that meant leaving you. I felt like the ground had just been pulled out from under me. Elara wasn't just running away from an affair, she was running away from something much darker. And now, I was tangled up in it too. I don't know what to say, I admitted, my voice shaking. I don't even know what's real anymore. I'm sorry, she whispered. But I didn't have a choice. And that was when I realized, whatever was coming next, I was already in deeper than I could have ever imagined. Her words echoed in my head as I tried to make sense of what she had just said. A dangerous group? A network that had been following her, and now, following me too? It was like I had just stepped into some twisted thriller, one where I was the unsuspecting pawn. I looked at Elara, my heart pounding. What do you mean you couldn't protect me anymore? I asked, barely able to keep my voice steady. Why didn't you tell me all this before? Why wait until now? She shifted uncomfortably in her seat, her eyes darting around the room, avoiding mine. I couldn't risk it, she whispered. If I had told you, you would have been in danger too. I thought I could handle it on my own, but I was wrong. They were watching me. Watching us. I could barely process what she was saying. So, you're telling me that all this time, you've been hiding this from me? All the lies, the secrets, all of it? My voice cracked as the anger and hurt began to rise. I never wanted to lie to you, she said, her voice breaking. But I had no choice. They were always there, just out of sight. They knew everything. About you, about our life together. And if I didn't keep quiet, if I didn't disappear, they would have come for you. The room felt colder, the walls closing in on me. My mind was spinning, trying to grasp at something, anything that made sense. I wanted to scream at her, to demand more answers, but I couldn't bring myself to. I was trapped in this web she had spun, and now I couldn't escape. Who are they? I asked, my voice barely above a whisper. Elara's eyes darkened. I don't know much about them. They're powerful, connected. They don't leave any trace, and they get what they want. They always get what they want. She paused. They're the kind of people who don't forget. I couldn't breathe. And you think they're still after us? She nodded, the fear in her eyes unmistakable. They never forget. And if they think you know too much, they'll come for you too. That's why I had to leave. I had to protect you. I stood up, pacing the small living room. The air felt thick, suffocating. You should have told me all this before, Elara. I could have helped you. We could have figured this out together. I didn't want to drag you into it, she whispered. I didn't want you to get hurt. Her words, though spoken softly, hit me harder than anything else. She had kept me in the dark, kept me safe. Or so she thought. Now, everything felt like a lie. How much of our life had been real? Had she ever truly trusted me? I turned toward her, my voice rising with frustration. You think I'd just sit back and let this happen? You think I'd be fine with you leaving without a word, without a reason? I didn't want to leave, she said softly, almost pleading. But it was the only way to keep you safe. I swear. There was a long silence between us, the weight of her confession pressing down like a heavy burden. I was caught in a whirlwind of emotions, betrayal, confusion, fear. But above all, I felt one thing clearly. I was no longer in control of my own life. Elara was no longer the woman I had known. The woman sitting in front of me was a stranger, someone who had been living a life filled with secrets and dangers I couldn't begin to comprehend. And now, somehow, I was involved. I looked at her, my heart still racing. What now? What do we do? She looked at me with a mixture of relief and uncertainty, as if she hadn't expected me to ask that question. We need to figure this out together. But first, we need to understand who they are and what they want with us. And we need to stay one step ahead. One step ahead. That felt impossible. But it was clear that if we didn't act fast, we might not get another chance. The weight of Elara's words settled in my chest, making it hard to breathe. We needed to stay ahead of whatever was coming. But how? How could we fight something we didn't even understand? I couldn't help but feel the fear creeping up on me, squeezing the air from my lungs. The woman I thought I knew had just opened a door to a world I never imagined existed. I don't know where to start, I admitted, running a hand through my hair. What do we do now? How do we even begin to figure out who these people are? Elara's eyes flickered with something I couldn't quite name. Fear? Determination? Both? We start by laying low. They're watching us, I'm sure of it. She paused, her gaze sharpening as if she were listening for something. But we can't hide forever. I swallowed hard. Why not? If they're that dangerous, why not just disappear? Why come to me now? Her face tightened. Because they've already found me before. I thought I could get away from it, but they never stopped looking. And now, you're involved. I won't risk it again. The doorbell rang. The sound was so sudden, so sharp, it felt like a jolt of electricity running through me. I froze, my heart racing. Elara tensed beside me, her eyes widening. It's too soon, she whispered, panic creeping into her voice. They found us. I didn't move. My legs felt like lead. The seconds stretched, each one an eternity. Then, the doorbell rang again, more urgently this time. Answer it. Elara breathed, her voice barely audible. I shook my head, the words stuck in my throat. What if it's them? Elara grabbed my wrist, her grip strong, desperate. If you don't, they'll know we're here. We can't show weakness. I had no choice. I stood up slowly, the air feeling thick with dread. Every instinct in my body screamed at me to run, to hide. But I didn't. I walked to the door, hesitated for just a second, then opened it. Standing there was a man I didn't recognize. He was tall, dressed in a dark coat, his expression unreadable. He didn't smile or introduce himself. Instead, his cold eyes locked onto mine, and the air seemed to grow colder. We need to talk, he said simply. I felt my stomach drop. Who are you? His gaze never wavered. That's not important right now. What matters is that you understand the situation. You're in it now, and it's not something you can walk away from. I stood frozen, unsure of what to do. My mind raced, but the words wouldn't come. The man didn't move, didn't blink. He simply stared at me, waiting. Elara, I muttered, glancing back at her. She was standing a few feet behind me, her face pale, her eyes wide with fear. I told you they'd come, she said quietly. Now, you have no choice. We're in this together. The man stepped closer, his voice low but firm. We know everything about you both. Don't try to run. It's already too late. His words sent a chill down my spine. I was caught in something far bigger than I had ever imagined. Whatever Elara had gotten us into, it was here, and I wasn't sure we could get out. I didn't say anything. The words were stuck in my throat, lodged like a rock I couldn't swallow. The man didn't move, he just waited. His presence felt heavy, like he was a shadow I couldn't escape. Elara's eyes were wide, and I could feel the panic rising in her. She knew who he was. She knew what he represented. You're wasting your time, I finally managed to say, my voice shaky but defiant. I don't know what game you're playing, but it's not going to work. The man didn't flinch. His eyes never left mine, like he was trying to peel back my layers, to see the truth beneath. You don't understand. We've been watching you for months. All of you. This is bigger than your petty defiance. I could feel Elara move behind me, closer, her fingers brushing my arm. Don't antagonize him, she whispered. Please. But I didn't want to back down. The more he spoke, the more I felt like I was being swallowed whole. This wasn't just some random threat, it was a warning, and the weight of it crushed me. What do you want? I asked, trying to steady my breath. The man didn't answer immediately. Instead, he reached into his coat pocket and pulled out a small envelope, sliding it across the threshold to me with one fluid motion. It was sealed with black wax. No address, no name, just a symbol, an insignia that looked like a twisted, jagged crown. This is your invitation, he said. Do what you want with it, but don't think for a second you have a choice. I hesitated for a moment, but I knew the decision had already been made. The fact that he was standing here, this close, meant that I couldn't escape it. I was already too deep. I picked up the envelope, feeling its weight in my hand, the chill of it seeping through the paper. What happens next? I asked, my voice quieter now, uncertain. The man's lips curled into something that wasn't quite a smile. You'll find out soon enough. We'll be in touch. Before I could respond, he turned and walked away, disappearing into the night as quietly as he had come. I was left standing there, holding that cursed envelope, my mind racing with questions that had no answers. Elara stepped forward, her expression torn. You don't know what you're dealing with, she whispered, as if afraid even the walls might hear her. Then tell me. I snapped, my frustration boiling over. Tell me what this is. What do they want from us? From me? She looked at me, eyes clouded with something I couldn't understand. I wish I could, but it's not that simple. They control everything. Every move we make, every step we take. And if we don't play along. Her voice trailed off, but the warning was clear. The stakes were higher than I had ever imagined. I opened the envelope slowly, my fingers trembling. Inside was a single piece of paper. The writing on it was neat, precise. Your time is running out. You know what you need to do. I stared at the words, feeling the weight of them settle in my gut like a cold rock. I didn't know what I was supposed to do, but I was starting to get a sinking feeling that it wouldn't be easy, and I wasn't sure I was ready for whatever came next. What does this mean? I asked, holding the paper out to Elara. She looked at it, her face going pale as she read the message. It's a warning, she whispered. A reminder. I felt a cold shiver run through me. A reminder of what? Before I could ask, the sound of tires screeching outside snapped me out of my thoughts. I turned toward the window, but before I could get a good look, the man appeared again, standing in the shadows across the street. Watching. I stared at the man across the street, his presence like a cold shadow that refused to leave. He was standing perfectly still, watching us, or maybe just watching me. My heart was racing, my head spinning with too many questions and not enough answers. What does he want? I muttered, more to myself than to Elara, but she heard me. I don't know, she said softly, her voice trembling. But he's not here for small talk. He's here because we've crossed a line. A line? The realization hit me hard. We had crossed a line, and it wasn't just a line with them. It was a point of no return. I stepped away from the window, my fingers still gripping the envelope, as if I could find some kind of answer in the paper. But nothing came. No solution. No escape. Just more questions. And the cold weight of inevitability settling in my chest. Should we run? I asked, though I knew the answer before the words left my mouth. Elara shook her head. Running isn't an option. If you leave, they'll find you. You'll be worse off. I let out a frustrated breath. Then what? Just sit here and wait for them to make the next move? She bit her lip, her eyes dark with the weight of everything she wasn't saying. I never wanted you involved in this, but now we don't have a choice. They won't stop, and neither can we. For a moment, the silence hung heavily between us. What had I gotten myself into? And why had she waited this long to tell me the truth? I glanced back at the window. The man was still there, unmoving. Every instinct in me screamed to run, to leave this life behind. But Elara's words echoed in my mind. If we leave, it'll be worse. I'm not sure I can do this, I said quietly. What if we're in over our heads? What if we're already too late? Elara looked at me, her expression hardening with resolve. We're not too late. But we have to make a decision, right now. There's no time to waste. I swallowed hard, feeling the weight of her gaze. She was right. Every second spent second-guessing was a second wasted. We needed a plan. Then what do we do? I asked, my voice steady despite the turmoil inside. She turned away from me, her face shadowed with a look I couldn't quite read. We play their game, but we need to be smarter. We need to be one step ahead. I felt the air leave my lungs. There it was, the moment when everything would change. Whatever came next, we couldn't undo it. But if we didn't act, we might never get the chance. The man across the street shifted, taking a step forward, like he was waiting for us to make our move. I took a deep breath. All right, I said, my voice low but resolute. Let's do this. The man across the street took another step closer, his silhouette growing sharper in the dimming light. But this time, I wasn't scared. Something inside me had shifted, and though the fear was still there, it was no longer paralyzing. For the first time since Elara had shown up at my door, I felt a strange sense of clarity. We play their game, I whispered, more to myself than to her. I turned back to Elara, who was watching me closely. But we play it on our terms. She looked at me, a spark of something I hadn't seen in her eyes in months. Hope. You're right. We can't keep running. Not anymore. I took her hand in mine, my grip firm. We had been through so much, so many lies, so many secrets. But now, for the first time, we were in this together. We didn't have all the answers, and we probably never would. But we had each other, and that was enough. We didn't have time to wait. The man across the street was moving toward us now, but I didn't feel the same rush of panic I'd felt before. Instead, I felt a sense of control that I hadn't experienced in so long. We had a choice, and we weren't going to let fear dictate it. Elara, let's go, I said, taking her hand and leading her away from the door. We stepped into the hallway, leaving the envelope behind, leaving the fear behind. We had no idea what we were walking into, but whatever it was, we were ready. Together. As we reached the door to the outside, I glanced back one last time. The man had stopped at the end of the driveway, watching us. But this time, I didn't feel threatened. I just nodded. And for the first time in a long while, I smiled. The road ahead was uncertain. We didn't know what was coming. But we had each other, and we were done running. That was the first step toward reclaiming our lives. And maybe, just maybe, we had finally found the courage to face whatever came next, together.